Dile and welcome to this episode of In Conversation with Tibettv. We are here at the Tibetan Reception Center in Dharamsala on day 2 of the 3rd International Tibet Youth Forum, organized by Tibet Advocacy section of Department of Information and International Relations, Central Tibetan Administration. This year's Youth Forum has brought together around 95 young Tibetans from 15 countries around the world, reflecting the strength and diversity of the growing global Tibetan youth movement. Joining me to share their experiences and insights are Tenzin Lodoe, a national coordinator for WeTag member from Sweden, and Choedon and Gyatso, a WeTag member from Australia. Welcome to our program, both of you.
Thank you.
So Choedon and Gyatso, let me start with you. Since this is your first youth forum, how has it been so far?
So yeah, it's my first youth forum. I didn't really know what to expect when I first came here. What I realized is I thought the youth forum was going to be a lot more formal, it's going to be a lot more in that sort of way. But coming into the youth forum, it's been a lot more engaging. I've been able to connect with many Tibetan men and women across the world. The youth forum this year, so far, I think it's been going great. I've met a lot of Tibetan young people so far. It's going good.
So Choedon, before we talk about your participation in this youth forum, can you reflect on your participation last year, since you were also here for the second youth forum, right? And also, in what ways did that exposure contribute to your advocacy for Tibet?
Well, last year's ITYF was actually my first introduction to advocacy.
Right.
I had never really seen it in action before, so the last year's conference was actually the beginning of my journey in advocacy.
So did that experience sort of help you in your journey in advocacy back home in Sweden?
Yeah, because it was my first exposure to it. So it was an introduction.
Right. So my next question is for both of you. Since we are about a day and a half into this year's youth forum, is there anything that stood out for both of you in terms of maybe networking or reaching out, or in terms of speakers? Can you start with you?
Overall, the experience has been very positive, despite challenges such as Trump cutting our budget. But honestly, I think this year's conference is better than last year's, because last year we had 3 hotels and it was a lot inconvenient, but now we're all much more connected and in the same place. So I think this is better for us to grow stronger relationships to one another.
What about you?
I think the first thing that really stood out for me is how well we all actually can speak Tibetan, even though we're all in different countries. Everyone can speak Tibetan fairly well, enough to at least introduce themselves. So that's definitely something that I've noticed for the past day and a half, that all of us have something in common. And generally, with all the speakers that have been here, they all have the same goal, and that's to inform us about what's happening. They're not there to benefit themselves. They're there to spread awareness and benefit us. That's on us. Hearing each speaker talk makes me realize how little I know about the current situation. Obviously, I am from Australia, and generally with these type of things, I know very little of. So that's something that, for the past day and a half, I think has really stood out to me.
So would you say you now have a renewed sense of responsibility and hope and encouragement?
100%. Yeah, definitely.
So we are at a very critical stage right now, especially from the political standpoint, right? Also, His Holiness is also aging. So at such times, why do you think it is important for Tibetans, especially the younger generation, to engage in advocacy? And also, what do you think that the impact would be?
The younger generation have a really big responsibility. My mum and dad always tell me this, and usually I don't really think about it deeply, but when I do think about it deeply, it really hits me. So His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama took the responsibility when he was 16 years old. That responsibility at the age of 16, up until his age now, fighting for Tibet's freedom, spreading awareness to with other world leaders. If the younger generation doesn't follow his footsteps, who's going to do it? That's the main point, right? So it's important for the younger generation to really be aware and learn about the Tibetan culture and what His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama has done his whole life, fighting for Tibet's freedom, spreading awareness with other world leaders. For me, myself, I'm from Australia. Before ITYF, I knew very little of Tibet's culture, religion, history, language. So the ITYF program is, I think, structured in a way so that all of us young people can learn what we need to do in order to support His Holiness's footsteps and keep gyapcho, keep going to push for Tibet's freedom, because that's the end goal, right? For Tibet's freedom. So I think that's my thoughts.
Choedon, do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. It's very important for the young ones to engage in advocacy, since we are the future.
Right.
And if we don't step up, we risk losing our voices. So I think advocacy is a very important tool for us to get back our voices.
So in terms of personal growth, Thupten, since this is your first time participating in ITYF or in advocacy, how has it helped you personally?
I would say that the first thing is I've actually learned a lot from each speaker. When you learn, you actually feel more confident to talk about the current situation. So, before this, when people come up to ask me, what's Tibet's situation? Oh, you're Tibetan. What can you tell me about Tibet? It's not really good, because you just sit there with your finger in your mouth. You don't really know what to say, right? So ever since coming here, first of all, just learning from each speaker has already given me a confidence to talk more about Tibet, to spread awareness. And because I've learned more from the speakers, I can take that with me to Australia to share with the other VTAG members of Australia, so that they get informed as well. On top of that, it probably means I can take more action. Sometimes I see that it's very informative. So we always tell the public, what's going on with the situation in Tibet. It's all words, but we actually need to take action. So of course, that's why the social media accounts are good, spreading awareness. And I think now that after this, I think I'll actually start participating more into actually doing and just taking action, really. So yeah.
So you spoke about taking action. So is there anything that you'd like to do when you go back?
I think a really good, when we say taking action, I think it's to spread awareness. That's the main goal, right? So I think the first thing that I might do is I'll go to the university, and at the university we have different groups of cultures and different cultural groups. I think currently there isn't a Tibetan one, and if we started a Tibetan one within the uni, we can actually spread information, start something, and then who knows, you can go from there. But that's one thing that definitely could be done. So yeah.
So my question is for both of you. As young Tibetan advocates, what message would you like to give to your fellow Tibetans, especially youngsters like you who are living in different parts of the world?
Be proud, stay informed, and get involved, because your voice matters, so use it.
Yeah, just, be proud to be Tibetan, don't give up. Dedicate about 30 minutes to an hour each day to learn about the Tibetan culture. People might say you have work, school, homework, sports. Everyone has that, right? Yeah. But you need to take that responsibility, even if you're fully Tibetan, half Tibetan, take that responsibility to learn a bit about the Tibetan culture, to know what's going on, because we all have a responsibility to follow His Holiness's footsteps. And so just keep going. I know it can sometimes feel like that your voice isn't heard, but as Tibetans together, if we work together and push for the same goal, I'm sure we can succeed in the end.
So thank you so much for being here and speaking to us.
Yeah. No, thank you too.
Thanks.
That is all for this episode of In Conversation with Tibettv. I will see you next time.